Hey there friends, it's Marie and welcome back to my channel. I am sharing a few cards today using the Tonic Studios subscription stamp club, and this month they're doing a shoot for the moon theme where they have these moon and star type stamps and die set that goes along with it. So I'm going to give you a look at the stamp set here. It's absolutely gorgeous. You can make some really fun scenes here, and they have a coordinating die set. Now some of these dies coordinate and some of them are pretty much standalone, so you can go ahead and build lots of different scenes and sentiments with both of these. These are really fun stamp sets. They are inspired by Maria Willis, and she's done a fantastic job on these. Now I'm going to go ahead and make a few mini slimline cards today. Actually, this video is only showing me making one card, but if you want to pop over to my blog, I have more details, more photos, descriptions of my second card, and we are doing a blog hop celebrating the stamp club, and there's also some giveaways, so you might want to hop over there, check out the blog and follow the links to enter for a chance to win some goodies. So I'm stamping out this little moon here. I am using my Misty and some of my Nuvo embossing ink. I'm stamping out several of these because I had an idea to make a card sort of featuring the phases of the moon, and I thought this would be really fun to make. So I'm going to stamp out several of these moons, and I'm actually going to go ahead and stamp some more. I think I stamped maybe 6 to 8 all together to go ahead and make these phases of the moon, and I'm embossing them in gold. I'm using some of Nuvo's gold embossing powder, and I just thought that would look really pretty against the background of that dark blue that I'm going to do. And yeah, loving this whole vibe of the stamps and dies. So I'm taking my moons and I'm taking that circle die from the die set, and I'm going to cut these out. Now I'm going to tape these down with a little bit of my tape, run them through my die cutting machine, and just cut them all out. And like I mentioned, I did go ahead and stamp and cut several more as well, but I'm just going to give you an idea here of what I'm doing. Now each time I cut one out, I'm just going to move that die and that tape and cut the next one out until I have them all cut so that I can move on to the next part of my card. Now with my moon phases, I want each of these pieces to sort of be a different size. So I'm going to start with my little crescent moons here and then move on to my bigger portions and then my full moon. And the way I made all of these sort of the same is I took 2 of my moons, I taped them together, and then I taped my die on top of them. That way I could cut out 2 at the same time and they would be the same size. So when I get to my card and I'm building my moon phases, my phases match up on either side of that full moon, and it just really adds to that symmetry of the card, and I just like having everything the same size and the same shape. So you might want to think about cutting out 2 moons at the same time if you're going to kind of try for this little card yourself. So I've got my 2 little crescent moons here. I'm going to put them on either side of my full moon, and I went ahead and I cut out my other moons. Now, I don't know if you would call these a quarter moon or a half moon. They're definitely more than that. Maybe they are waxing and waning gibbous. I don't know, but I know that is a part of the moon phases. So if you want to learn more about moon phases, go look it up and see what those moon pieces are. I know the full moon and I know the crescent moon, and I'm guessing the other ones are waxing and waning gibbous, but I could be wrong. So I'm moving on with my background. I'm taking some of my dark blue ink and I'm just going to go ahead and ink blend that on. I'm using some of Tonic's Ultra Smooth White cardstock, and like the name suggests, it is really smooth. So the ink, no matter what ink you're using, goes on pretty well. I'm going to go ahead and just ink blend the whole background of this card here. I'm using my dark blue, and I'm going to stamp on some more stars. Now these stars are from the stamp set, just a cluster of stars, and I'm going to go ahead and stamp them all around the border of my background. I'm using the same color ink that I used for my background. I wanted a starry sky, but I didn't want the stars to steal the show. I wanted my moons to be front and center of this card. So even though I'm making a starry sky, my stars are going to kind of blend into the background. And I think it looks really fun when I get done with this card. Now I'm just going to stamp and move this little clear stamp around my border until everything is stamped around the border. I'm leaving the inside middle portion sort of open so that it can kind of frame those moons the way I'm going to adhere them on. Now I'm just stamping around the outside. I'm not being super precise. I'm just moving that stamp and turning it in a way that I think would look nice on my background and just giving it a stamp with my Misty. Once that is finished, I wanted to add a little bit more sparkle, so I'm going to take this background and I'm taking my Nuvo Midas Touch pen. This is a glitter brush pen, and I love these brush pens for adding some shimmer, and I'm using one of Maria Willis's techniques here. I'm just taking the cap of this pen and flicking on some of this gold right from the brush. I kind of watched her do this little cap flicking technique, and it was brilliant because just use the cap. Don't bother with getting a stamp block or anything to flick it with. Just take that cap off and flick with the cap. So works really well, and I got some gold flecks on my background there. I'm trying to keep the gold splatters on the outside of my card. Again, I'm building a frame for the moons that are going to go right in the center of this card. So I'm going to let this completely dry before I do my next part. I'm going to be stamping this sort of border stamp from the stamp set straight down the middle, and this is going to add some more gold stars and a line for me to follow when I am adhering down my little moon. So it's going to be in a straight line, and it's just going to kind of help your eye go from one side of the card to the other and really add to the whole design. So I really love this little border stamp. You can use it as a border, but I'm just going to go ahead and stamp it straight down the middle of my background. Again, I am stamping with embossing ink, and I'm embossing in some of that gold embossing powder from Nuvo. I'm going to melt that powder there, and I still love embossing every time I stamp and then melt that powder. It's like magic. It's one of the things that got me into stamping in the first place, and I absolutely love it. So I'm getting all of my pieces assembled here, and I'm getting to the part where I'm just going to adhere things down. But first I did go ahead and I stamped my little sentiment on the bottom of the card there. Now you can see how I'm arranging all of my little moon phases with the full moon in the center and then my crescent moons on the outside. I really love how I was able to cut out 2 moons at the same time to get all of these moon phases the same size and shape. I'm using some of my little foam squares to pop these up on my card front, so all these moons will be the focus of this card. Now these crescent moons are some tiny little pieces here, so some of these foam squares were a little bit too big for the top and bottom of that crescent, and they're really easy just to take a scissors and cut them down a little bit and get some smaller pieces that you can add to your tiny die cuts and add them to your card base. So I'm cutting that down, I'm adding my tiny little foam adhesive pieces, and I'm just going to peel off that backer and adhere them to my card base. So this is a pretty simple card. You just do a little bit of gold embossing, do a little ink blending and stamping. It's pretty much using the colors blue and gold, but I really love how it just helps all of those moon phases to stand out. So finishing the card, I'm taking some larger foam squares from Tonic and I'm just putting them on the back of my card front. Like I mentioned, this is a mini slimline card, so the dimensions for mini slimline are basically 6 by 3. Now I have a 6 by 3 card base with light gray cardstock, but my card front is cut down to a little bit smaller than that, so I would have a little bit of a matted border around my card front. So like I mentioned, this video is part of a blog hop with Tonic Studios. They are showing off their stamp club, so make sure you follow the links down in the description to hop over to my blog and check out the other links to all the other creators who are making cards with this stamp and die bundle. I also have a bonus card from a previous stamp club bundle set if you want to go ahead and check that out on my blog. And make sure you leave a comment so you will be entered to win some fabulous prizes. If you haven't already, make sure you comment, like, subscribe, tap that bell for notifications, and just do all the things. And I will catch you guys next time. I hope you enjoy this blog hop. Have a great day, everyone. Bye.